After her announcing her run for California governor on Friday, Caitlyn Jenner got into a back and forth with one of the state's Democratic congressmen. It happened after Jenner tweeted about Gavin's district attorneys, referring to Governor Gavin Newsom. California Congressman Ted Lieu tweeted at her, quote, district attorneys are elected by voters, not appointed by Governor Newsom. Also, do you know how a bill becomes a law? Here's a cool Schoolhouse Rock video for you to educate yourself. To which Jenner responded, Ted, that kind of condescending tone is what is wrong with politics. Of course, I know DAs are elected, but as the CEO of a state, the buck stops with Newsom. Here to react to all of this and the race itself, Charlie Kirk, founder and president of Turning Point USA, and Leslie Marshall, Democratic commentator and Fox News contributor. Great to have both of you with us. I also want to, jumping on the bandwagon as well was Joy Behar. Watch this 20 seconds where she misgendered Caitlyn Jenner several times. Watch Whatever. This. It just came out. So here is Caitlyn Jenner's response to that, which is, very grown up. Don't sweat it at Joy Behar. I'm not about cancel culture. I know where your heart is. California is bigger than pronouns. Leslie, why are they all going after Caitlyn Jenner?
Well, it's not just the left going after Caitlyn Jenner. Former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis mocked the announcement by Caitlyn that she was going to run for governor, and also Nicholas Fuentes, who said that the GOP, the Trump Republican Party, cannot become the party of Caitlyn Jenner. He also said Rick Grenell, who is a friend of mine. Speaking of friends, Congressman Ted Lieu is a friend of mine. He is known to be snarky. But here's the thing, Martha. Caitlyn is not receiving support from the left or the right, okay? Republicans, there's going to be a recall election. Republicans comprise about a quarter of this state's votership, and as of this morning, California has 1.2% COVID rate, making us the lowest in COVID cases in the United States. So less people are as excited about getting rid of Gavin Newsom because things are looking up. Speaking of LGBTQ community, approximately 1 in 8 voters identify as part of that community and do not like some of the things that Caitlyn has said in the past when she had been supporting Donald Trump when he was president. So quite frankly, I think she would do better if she ran as a Democrat.
Charlie,
and then one more thing, Republicans in more than 20 states, Republican state legislatures are having a field day with anti-trans legislation targeted against trans youth. And that is a big problem that Caitlyn Jenner hasn't spoken out against.
So here's what I'm hearing, Charlie. People are very nervous about Caitlyn Jenner running for governor in California. Caitlyn Jenner is basically saying, look, I'm for small government. I'm trying to get out of the way of business. This isn't really about my identity. It's about the issues that are plaguing California. And that seems to be upsetting a lot of people, as Leslie points out, even on both sides.
Yeah, I think that's probably right for a lot of people in California. And I'm probably going to come down on the side that Leslie wants me to come down on, which I'm not a huge fan of the Republican Party getting behind Caitlyn Jenner. And here's why, is that, look, I represent a viewpoint held by probably more than half the country that biological standards matter, and that the things that Leslie talks about as being anti-trans pieces of legislation, I'd call them pro-science, and even more importantly, protecting female sports. Look what we saw in Alabama or in Arkansas where they overrode the governor's veto. Let me say I've met Jenner. Very nice person, and I think that Jenner really believes in conservative values to an extent. However, I represent a viewpoint that millions of other Americans hold, which is that who are we as Republicans? Are we just always going to try to be the first to try to get to something? Are we going to sometimes make the more difficult argument, take all the arrows and the criticism and say these are deeply held beliefs, and that, I wish Jenner the best, and I think the left obviously is exposing some of their hypocrisy in their treatment of Jenner, but I'm going to make the unpopular argument when it's rooted in truth.
Well, it seems to me that it's really up to the people of California to decide who they want. They have a history of electing an actor who didn't have a lot of political background in Ronald Reagan. They elected Arnold Schwarzenegger in a similar sort of runoff. So, I would just say, Leslie, that, while everybody seems to be very anxious to attack this person who says, I've lived in California for 50 years and I don't want to leave like so many of my other folks, fellow Californians have done. I'd like to do what I can to try to make things better here, becomes really this center of vitriol. vitriol from both sides, as you say. I don't know why that is, really.
Well, I can tell you why it is, at least what I'm hearing here in California, the rumblings among my neighbors, friends, and others. One, if you go to the site, Caitlyn Jenner's gubernatorial website, there are two buttons, shop or donate. So some people think this is a money-making thing or an ego-boosting thing. In addition to ego-boosting, Californians, quite frankly, are sick of celebrities running for office, because when Arnold Schwarzenegger ran with no experience and won back in 2003 when we had the recall election against Gray Davis, he left the state worse than when the recall election began. And
so because Caitlyn Jenner is a former celebrity, she would do the same thing, I guess, is the, I'm not sure where that logic comes from. Charlie, final thought here?
Look, it's a complicated topic, but, as the Republican Party continues to try to find its soul, I think it's very important that we're clear about who represents our party, especially in a widely covered, publicized governor's race in California. So that's why I'm going to continue to take the position I take.
Yeah. Okay. We will see what happens. That's the great thing about politics and about democracy. There's going to be a runoff election. It's probably going to happen in September. There'll be other people who throw their name into the ring here, and everybody gets a fair shot at it. And that's what makes it a great country. Charlie, thank you. Leslie, thank you. Good to see you both.
Thank you, Martha.